Most hunters think the carbon rifle game already has a king. Tika, Sacco, Christensen. They figure that conversation is locked and finished. Then Spain showed up at SHOT Show 2026 and threw the whole thing out the window. A rifle under 6 pounds that holds 0 through 3 rapid shots in the field. That used to be a fairy tale, not a spec sheet. 5 rifles made the cut this year, and the gap between the bottom of this list and the top is bigger than you think. Let's start at the bottom and climb our way up to the new king of the mountain. Number 5 on the list, the rifle for guys who think carbon fiber is a fad. Look, while everybody else in this lineup is chasing ounces, the premier platinum stalker walked in wearing a tuxedo and didn't apologize for the weight. This is Bergara's nod to the old-school dangerous game tradition, and it does not cut corners to get there. Under the gloss, this thing is built like a tank. The stock is pepper-colored laminate wood, stacked in thin veneer layers and bonded together under massive pressure with aerospace-grade epoxy. Here's why that matters. Regular walnut breathes with the weather. It swells, it shrinks. It can shift your 0 on a rainy morning in the brush. Laminate doesn't care. Those epoxy layers lock the wood in place, so humidity and temperature swings just bounce right off it. You get the warmth of a classic Monte Carlo profile with none of the heartbreak. Now, here's the deal breaker. That laminate build sets you back on weight, running 6 3/4 to 7 1/4 pounds on the scale, depending on configuration. If you're a guy who counts every ounce going up a mountain, this is not your rifle. You're paying in heft for that classic look and feel. But that extra mass earns its keep. Slings 375, H&H Magnum, downright comfortably, which makes the Stalker a serious option for brown bear country in Alaska or dangerous game on the African plains. The added weight soaks up recoil from those big cartridges like a sponge soaking up water. What would be an angry mule in a lighter gun turns into something you can actually manage shot after shot. Underneath that wood, though, it's all business. Premier Gen 2 action. Trigger Tech trigger, breaking clean with 0 creep. Fluted stainless barrel for faster heat dump. The damage to your wallet is $1,749, and not a penny of that goes to nostalgia for nothing. Every dollar is buying real, terminal performance on heavy game. This one's solid, but stick around, because the rifle waiting at number 1 on this list isn't just lighter. It's a completely different animal. Stepping up the game now, number 4 is the rifle Bergara built for the guy who actually wants to use his rifle, not baby it. Here's the deal. The B14 Wilderness Sierra skips the carbon fiber hype train entirely and bets on smart geometry instead of exotic materials. And honestly, it works. This is the do-everything rifle in the lineup, priced low enough that you won't flinch dragging it through blackberry thickets. The standout feature here is the fully adjustable comb. Now let's talk mechanics for a second, because this matters more than people think. Modern hunters are slapping massive optics on their rifles. We're talking 34mm main tubes and objective lenses pushing past 50mm. On a fixed traditional stock, that setup forces your head up off the comb just to see through the glass, which wrecks your cheek weld and slows down your target acquisition. The Sierra's adjustable comb lets you raise that cheek height to exactly where your eye lines up naturally with the scope. Less neck strain, faster sight picture, simple as that. Now, the deal breaker, and this one's an aesthetics and build trade-off. Sierra runs a fluted chromoly steel barrel instead of carbon, which bumps the base weight up to 7 to 7.5 pounds. It's not winning any weight class trophies sitting next to the Cima Pro, but that steel does earn its keep on the heat management side. The fluting helps the barrel breathe between shots, better than a plain bull profile would. I know the carbon crowd is going to roll their eyes at a steel barrel rifle making this list. But sound off below if you think old-school materials still have a place in 2026. What really sells the Sierra is the M5 floor plate cut. This gives you the modularity to run a traditional hinged floor plate when you're stalking through dense brush and don't want anything snagging, or swap to a detachable AICS pattern magazine when you need high capacity fast. Eats 6.5 Creedmoor and 308 Winchester without complaint, and factory groups regularly come in under 1 minute of angle. Street price is $10.99, which makes the Wilderness Sierra the value king of this whole lineup, going head-to-head with rifles like the Tikka T3X CTR, and coming out ahead on features. Entering the elite tier now, number 3 is the rifle that proves you don't need premier money to get premier level stiffness. The B14 squared Crest carbon, that's B14 squared if you're talking shop at the counter, splits the difference between budget steel guns and the $3,000 carbon flagships. Here's the deal. It runs 100% carbon fiber stock built through resin transfer molding, with an internal carbon spine running the length of the monocoque shell. Let's break down why that spine matters. Without it, a hollow carbon stock can flex under load, especially out at the forend when you're leaning into a bipod or a fence rail. That internal spine acts like a backbone, transferring stress evenly through the structure instead of letting it concentrate at one weak point. The result is a forend that simply refuses to bend, even with weight bearing down on it from a hard rest. Under the hood, the grip geometry tells its own story. Crest Carbon ditches the old swept-back sporter grip for a near-vertical pistol grip with a palm swell that works for righties and lefties alike, plus an integrated thumb shelf. This isn't just styling. Keeping the wrist in a neutral position isolates the trigger finger from the rest of the hand's gripping muscles, which cuts down on sympathetic torque when you break the shot. Translation: less of your hand fighting your trigger finger means a cleaner release downrange. Now for the deal breaker, and this one's a financial gut check. The B14 action under the hood is genuinely smooth, buttery even, but the rifle still wears that B14 badge instead of Premier, which means resale value and aftermarket bragging rights lag behind its big brother. You're getting maybe 90% of the Cima Pro's field performance, but some buyers still hesitate pulling the trigger on a non-Premier action at this price point. Feeds on standard hunting cartridges through an AICS pattern detachable box magazine. Single stack feed, no drama. The action wears a sniper gray Cerakote finish that shrugs off rain and snow without complaint. Sets you back somewhere between $1,849 and $2,100, depending on dealer and configuration, which puts it dead in the water. Crosshairs of rifles like the Sako or the Tikka UPR, except the Crest Carbon walks away with the materials advantage every single time. Closer to the crown now. Number 2 isn't the lightest rifle to ever wear a Bergara badge, but it might be the smartest. The Premier MgMicro Lite was built for one kind of hunter, the guy going deep into technical mountain country where every ounce gets weighed twice before it goes in the pack, and where most of his shots are coming off a tripod, not a bipod. Under the rifle, you'll find the XLR Atom chassis machined from magnesium instead of the usual aluminum. Here's why that swap matters. Magnesium delivers a better strength-to-weight ratio than standard T6 aluminum, which lets Bergara build a bare chassis weighing just 14 ounces on short actions. Pair that with a folding carbon stock and a skeletonized carbon pistol grip, and the whole rig collapses down small enough to strap flat against a pack frame without snagging brush on the way up the mountain. Run the numbers, and this thing lands at 5.8 to 5.9 pounds depending on caliber. 308 Winchester, 6.5 Creedmoor, or 6.5 PRC, with an 18-inch carbon barrel threaded 5/8 by 24, built from the ground up to wear a suppressor. Now, the engineering flex. A full-length Arca-Swiss dovetail rail is machined directly into the forend, which means this rifle locks straight onto a hunting tripod with zero adapters and zero fumbling. Under load, the rifle's center of gravity sits perfectly over the support point, which is the difference between a shaky long-range shot and a rock-steady one. But here's the deal breaker, and it's an ergonomics one. That short forend that saves weight also eats into bipod real estate. Clip a lightweight bipod up near the magazine well, and the shortened distance between front and rear support points can create a seesaw wobble under recoil, like a table with one short leg. Run a bigger bipod and the wobble disappears, but you're back to adding weight you tried to shed in the first place. The skeletonized grip also forces a slightly different hand position than a traditional stock, so your cycling stroke takes a little getting used to. Street price lands at $3,099, same as the rifle waiting at number 1. And trust me, that's not a coincidence. And here it is, number 1, the new king of the mountain, the Bergara Cima Pro. Look, I told you up front this rifle changes the conversation, and after digging into the data, I'm not walking that back. This is the rifle Bergara built when they decided lightweight and rock solid didn't have to be opposites anymore. Start with the weight. 5.5 pounds on short action builds, 5 3/4 on magnums. That's lighter than the Crest carbon you just heard about at number 3. And it gets there without the trade-offs that rifle has to live with. How? The Cima Pro skips the resin transfer molding process entirely and goes straight to autoclave curing, the same pressure cooking process used to build aerospace components and race car bodies. Here's why that matters mechanically. Instead of just pouring carbon and resin into a mold, the stock gets baked under massive heat and pressure simultaneously, which squeezes out every microscopic air pocket and maximizes the ratio of fiber to resin. The result is a stock so dense and so precisely shaped that Bergara doesn't even need to bed in an aluminum block or a mini chassis. The action sits directly against pure carbon. That's the difference between this rifle and the Crest carbon sitting one rung below it. Same barrel technology, completely different stock manufacturing, and a noticeable jump in rigidity per ounce. Now the barrel, and this is where the real engineering story lives. Every rifle on this list with a carbon barrel uses Bergara's Cure technology, but it's worth explaining how it actually works. Stainless steel fibers get woven directly into the carbon wrap, continuous strands running the length of the barrel. Those metal fibers act as a thermal bridge, pulling heat away from the chamber and spreading it down the barrel fast instead of letting it pool at the throat like older carbon-wrapped barrels tend to do. Field testing shows this knocks barrel temperature down by roughly 50 degrees Fahrenheit compared to older generation carbon barrels. Translation: your third and fourth shot in a string lands in the same spot as your first one. Slings 6.5 PRC downrange with authority. And the numbers back it up. Hornady's 143 grain ELDX load clocked 2,811 feet per second, and printed groups right around 7/8 of an inch. Federal's 130 grain terminal ascent ran even faster, 2,947 feet per second, and tightened up to about 2/3 of an inch. Berger's 140 grain Elite Hunter came in at 2,733 feet per second, with groups landing at 5/8 of an inch. That's match-grade precision out of a hunting rifle weighing under 6 pounds. Up front, the ST2 muzzle brake handles recoil with side ports instead of the omnidirectional design you saw on the Wilderness Sierra and the Platinum Stalker. That's not an accident. A brake that vents straight down kicks up a dust storm the second you go prone. Fine for standing shots, miserable for a real mountain stalk. The ST2 throws that gas out to the sides instead, which means you keep your sight picture clean exactly when you need it most. Belly down on a ridgeline with one shot to make. And here's the part that should worry the competition. Strap a suppressor onto this barrel. Titanium, 3D printed, doesn't matter, and the point of impact barely moves. That tells you the carbon wrap isn't just light. It's stiff enough to behave like a heavy bull barrel while weighing a fraction of one. 3,100 bucks, minus exactly $1. That's the entry fee for a rifle that beats the MgMicro Lite on raw weight, beats the Crest Carbon on structural rigidity, and beats every steel-barreled rifle on this list on heat management. The Cima Pro doesn't just take the crown. It redefines what the crown even means. So there you have it, 5 rifles, 1 undisputed king. The Platinum Stalker holding the line for tradition, the Wilderness Sierra proving steel still earns its keep. The Crest Carbon splitting the difference between budget and performance. The MgMicro Lite built for the guys who live on a tripod, and the Cima Pro sitting on top of all of them, lighter and stiffer than anything this brand has ever put out. Bergara didn't just build 5 good rifles this year. They built a roadmap for where every hunting rifle on the market is headed. Train hard, stay safe, and I will see you downrange.